Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Anupi's tips and tricks and these cooking classes from my kitchen in my home. I just want to give you a heads up that I know this is not going to be the most professional cooking class in the world because I've got a crazy dog here that likes to think that he's a watchdog. I've also got kids that are upstairs, as many of us have at home. But when Whole Foods told me that they were canceling all of our opportunities to do demos in stores about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and canceling, obviously, all of my cooking classes, I started to think a little bit about different ways to reach out to all of you, to stay in touch with all of you, and to give something back to all of you. I know it's a stressful time. I went through my own, layer of stress this past week, and it accumulated into me putting jeans on for the first time today, and they were a little tighter. So I'm not gonna lie about that. And maybe some of you find yourselves in a similar situation, but I decided that I could either give up or make the decision to take what we've got, take the situation and do bigger and better and really band together with all of you, because we are truly, as a world, in this together. And so let's just stick together and get it done. All right, on that note, I am going to set this up like a regular class. I'm going to showcase a recipe from my cookbook, The Indian Slow Cooker. And heads up, if you've got pen and paper, please go take a second and go grab it. And grab your copy of The Indian Slow Cooker if you have it. I am going to tell you exactly what I'm gonna do, and that's gonna be what I am going to use as my guide in terms of recipe and in terms of ingredients with some changes. So that's why I'm telling you, get some pen and paper. And just so you know, I do a ton of tips, or I give you a ton of tips in my classes. And so I want you to take advantage of all of that. And I talk fast. I'm used to being a on-camera reporter with an IFB in my left ear, and so I talk fast. So slow me down if you need me to slow down. Thank you, everyone, for watching. It's so great to see you. I am going to respond to all of you towards the end so we can really get this going, and I will answer all of your questions, I promise you, when we get to that point. So for now, again, I hope you've got a pen and paper and you've got your copy of The Indian Slow Cooker. And oh yay, Canada in the house, I love it. Hello. And welcome to all of you. Oh, and then also, before I forget, indianasapplepie.com, there are going to be some unfamiliar spices. We do not sell all of them, but what I'm gonna do is, if by the end of today you get on my website and you order garam masala, cumin seed, turmeric, whatever it might be, I will slip in some of those harder to source spices. I have them on hand, and we are packaging them up as I speak. It has been crazy. We've been working overtime to get beans out there because everyone wants dried legumes. They are some of the best ingredients you can have on hand. So let's get to it. Okay, I'm gonna flip the camera around so that you can see exactly in my kitchen. All right, so this is the book that started a revolution, and I still love my Indian Slow Cooker book. It came out in 2010, it was updated last year, and we're gonna turn to page 83, and hopefully you can see all this. And we're gonna look at the Punjabi curried kidney beans. Now, this recipe, if you've made it, you know why I love it so much. It's a Punjabi version of chili. It's using kidney beans. Typically, I use a regular red kidney bean that you find at your regular grocery store. Today, I'm going to switch it up a little bit, and I'm also going to not only swap out the type of kidney bean. Who would have thunk it? There are several types of kidney beans out there. I'm also going to make this in my Instant Pot, my electric pressure cooker. So here we go. I want to show you first over here. Everything's kind of prepped and laid out. So look at these kidney beans and look how different they look. The ones on the right here, and sorry, no time for manicures these days. We can't even go near anyone to do that, so my nails look horrible. You're just going to have to put up with it. So kidney beans from the regular kidney beans that we think about, right? From the grocer, from the Indian grocer, from the Western grocer, whatever it might be. And then Kashmiri kidney beans. They almost look like Azuki beans. They're not. They're a smaller version of this kidney bean, and it's called a Kashmiri kidney bean, smaller, sweeter in taste. And so what I've done is last night I took 3 cups. That's how much product I use in my Indian slow cooker. You can use less on your end if you like. I took 3 cups last night and I soaked it in water. Okay, so it's just been sitting here all night, soaking in water, enough to cover it. And if you don't want to, or you don't think about soaking it ahead of time the night before, it's okay. Go ahead and use boiling water from your electric kettle. That is my absolute favorite tool. It sits right over here. Sorry, I've got the dog treats on the counter too. Crazy dog that we've got. We've got to train him constantly. That's my kettle, and it sits on my counter, and I will use it to heat up my water. So if I want to give my legumes a head start, I will put them in my bowl. I will pour that boiling hot water in there, and I will let them sit for about 10 to 15 to 20 minutes. And that's all you need sometimes to actually zap your beans. How do you store beans? I store my beans in a tall glass jar. You could use a mason jar. Glass or metal are the best utensils or storage vessels for all of your food products. I know, I hate saying it too, plastic is not a great storage container or material for food products. No matter what you do, it will leach a little bit. Now, if that's all you've got, stick with it. I'm not about throwing everything out and try to change it right away, but just keep in mind you have spaghetti jars. You've got other jars that you use in your day-to-day. You can clean them out, soak them, get rid of the labels, and thus reuse them as well. This is going to go in my colander, which is sitting right here in my sink. It's not easy to do this with one hand. And interesting enough, look at this. There's a little dirt and debris from soaking. Okay, so what I want to do is, now that I see that, I really want to clean these out because you don't want any of that in your dish. So let's go ahead and do this one-handed, might I add again. All right, and let's clean these out. Usually, product these days, our legumes that we sell at Whole Foods are all double and triple cleaned. Most of these beans are coming pretty clean, but it is a good idea just to go through them before you soak them. Again, to make sure, let's just put this right here, to make sure that all that debris is sorted through. And legumes are notorious for having little bits of pebbles in them as well. And everyone can see, right? Tom, you're good. You still have the live feed, I hope. And you want to just clean them out. That's all there is to it. And we've got it beautifully washed and cleaned. I just really want to go through that with you. I love a colander like this because if I'm actually pouring off pasta, I can now keep my pasta water and use it without losing it. But here we go. These are your soaked and cleaned out Kashmiri kidney beans. So we're going to leave that right there for now. And we're going to go to our recipe and take a look at some of the fresh ingredients. So a lot of people complain about Indian, saying it has a lot of ingredients in it that they don't quite understand. I would actually go up against that and say I disagree with it, because here we go. We've got kidney beans, yellow or red onion, tomato, ginger, garlic, chilies. Wow. I know most people have that stuff in their house. If you don't want the chilies, don't put it in there. But if you have a jalapeno, you can use it. Although ideally the best chilies for Indian are either Thai, serrano, or cayenne chilies. You've got all that, right? And there is a specific way that we prep all of this as well. Typically, I will either grind it in my food processor, and I've got a little food processor here, and Oliver found something to bark at, so if he does go off, he will stop, I promise you. We're just going to ignore him. We've got onion here. It can be red or yellow onion, and look at this. Earlier this week, or last week, I prepped it, stuck it in a jar, so I just grabbed it and threw it into this bowl. You could have ground it in your food processor if you wanted. When I grind my ingredients, I typically will go onion first. It's got water. It's got a different moisture content than ginger and garlic, so I'll do that first and alone. Then I'll put my ginger garlic together or separately, however you want to do it. Here it's together because, again, different moisture content, less moisture. And then I'll do my chilies. So I am going to go ahead and grab my lid, which is all the way over here. Bear with me, folks. And I'm going to go ahead and grind the chilies. Oh, here we go. We didn't want to do that. All right, let's close the lid there. On food processors, I love my mini. I've got a large one as well. I've got two sizes, and they both come in super handy. All right, so let's go ahead. Oliver doesn't like this noise, so we're just going to go ahead. He's hiding under his bench. We're going to go ahead and just grind this. And now I've got my chilies that I'm going to use all prepped and ready to go. Here's the thing on chilies, folks. One of the biggest feedbacks I get on my cookbooks on Amazon is she crazy? Her food is so spicy, we would never eat it that hot. Okay, I talk about it in the book, but sometimes people miss all of the explanation up front. You do not have to use as many chilies as I do in my cooking. Yes, we like our food spicy, and yes, I wanted to give you a cookbook that you could use and know is incredibly authentic to our taste profile and our heat levels. But there's many Indians as well that don't like that much heat. Leave it out, or simply use less, or if you want the flavor, which is why we love chilies, then leave your chili in there whole in your dish to cook and pull it out later, or slice it down in half and then pull it out later. We do not take any of our seeds out. We don't take any of the inside membrane out. We love that for flavor. And take a look at the chili difference here. This is a serrano on the left, and that is a Thai chili on the right. I use both in my cooking. I prefer the Thai chili because often in Chicago, the Thai chilies are much hotter and have more flavor. So when I give you a range in my cookbook, 4 to 6 chilies, 4 maybe of these, and I'd still say they're pretty long. Use your judgment. 4 is probably much. I'd use 2. See how you feel about it. 6, yeah, I use 6 of these Thai chilies, but look how tiny they are. They pack a good punch, but they're smaller. So again, that's why I give you that range. I hope that makes sense so far. If you have any questions, go ahead and post them. But for now, excuse me, it's that chili that is, I'm going to take a sip of my coffee, getting to me. Oh, that felt good. All right, rock and roll. We did our prep, our mise en place, which is a French term for everything in its place, for our fresh ingredients. Now we need to have a mise en place for our spices. Most people get intimidated by Indian because of all the crazy spices. Okay, here we go. Cloves, cinnamon stick, cumin seed, red chili powder or cayenne, salt, turmeric powder, garam masala, rock and roll. How do I maintain my sanity? I have a masala dabba or spice tiffin. This one got a little messy because my kids and my husband were using it. I usually like my salt in the middle. Some cooks don't like to put their salt or waste a container for salt. I just like to have it right there. And then I typically will arrange it, and this was a trick that Mother Jaffrey, yes, the Indian food goddess, taught me when I interviewed her for a story for the Chicago Tribune. I like to put my spices in order of how I put them into my dish. So now I've got turmeric, I've got cumin seed, I've got my other whole spices, which are gonna go in here. That is gonna be a combination of this here, bay leaf, cinnamon stick, black cardamom, cloves, oh my gosh. Hi Cindy, hi Angela, thanks for tuning in. And then, where did I go? Here we go. Let's do this. La-di-da, da-da-di-da. Garam masala, coriander powder, red chili powder, and I'm going to keep my hing, asafoetida. Okay, does anybody know what the street term is for asafoetida? It is the devil's dung. I bring this up in all my classes. I just think it's so funny because it just smells so funky. It's actually a resin. And the idea is you just need a tiny, tiny bit in your cooking, in your hot oil or ghee, to alleviate some of the gassiness that beans are notorious for, but also it gives your food this taste of leeks and onions. It does not taste like that once it's utilized in your cooking. And also keep in mind, it's incredibly healthy for you. Also, there's some regions of India that do not eat any ginger, no garlic, no onion, and that hing is a great replacement for that. So if you don't want that, you can add the hing in. Now, we are going to cook all of this up in our pressure cooker. This is an Instant Pot. Da-da-da. It's an 8-quart, and I'm using the 8-quart Instant Pot to convert my recipes in my Indian slow cooker because it starts with 3 cups of product. Mina, I got my 8-quart at Bed Bath & Beyond in Chicago, so check them out. I'm going to give them some props. Please order from whatever retailer these days is open to ordering online. Now, it's very critical, and we can go into the Instant Pot more later. This is your maximum line, okay? You cannot fill your product up to here. This needs enough room to build pressure in it, and that is why you only want to fill it 2/3 full. So on beans and grains, about 3 cups, maybe 4 cups would be maximum that you'd want to put into your 8-quart. When I pull back on content, meaning instead of 3 cups, I use 2, I will use my 6-quart pressure cooker. I know most of you have a 6-quart. So when you're making this recipe at home in your pressure cooker, pull this back to 2 cups of Rajma. And remember too, If you don't have the kidney beans on hand, you could sub anything out, including chickpeas. You could sub out a whole unprocessed dal, meaning a mung dal, whatever you might have, navy beans. I've heard so many different options on swapping out. And look, 3 cups, let's use a little bit of math here, 9 cups of water, right? So per 1 cup, you have 3 cups of water. Just scale it down. I'll do the math for you in another recipe. I'll have it on my website. But for now, most of you probably won't have this 8-quart handy. So just keep that math in mind. And remember, Indian food is incredibly, incredibly scalable. Meaning, now you can take your 2 cups of product, and instead of 1 medium yellow or red onion, use 3/4 or half. Cut the 2 medium tomatoes back to 1. Instead of the 1 2-inch piece of ginger, use a 1-inch piece of ginger. Instead of 3 cloves of garlic, use 2. So that's how you can pull it back, and know that you're okay to do that. Your food will taste great as long as you follow the recipe as a guideline. All right, so let's go ahead and turn our pressure cooker on. I'm gonna hit the saute button. It's on normal, but I want to hit it again to get this button up to more. More is what will really get us to a point where the Indian spices really can cook well. Now, here's another thing. Okay, turned on. It's gonna go to hot in just a moment, and that's when I know it's ready. Because I'm talking so much, I will probably pull this down to normal, and I just do that by hitting it twice. There it is. It's at normal. Let's do that, but know on your end when you're cooking and not talking, and you can really move stuff fast into your pressure cooker, feel free to keep it on more so you can really get the most out of your spices and your tadka. Now, the jury's out on tadka in the pressure cooker. Technically, in the crock pot, and I got a lot of pushback from a lot of my people. A lot of Indians, especially Indian Americans, said that I could not make Indian food successfully in a crock pot without tadka. The crock pot did the work for me. It basically did the equivalent of what tadka would over those long, slow hours of cooking. I didn't need to really do tadka except to add maybe a layer of flavor later. So same thing with the pressure cooker. You don't really need to do tadka, except it does add another dimension to your dish. So, sorry, I'm gonna take another sip of my coffee. All right, another dimension, and try it with and without. And if you were not going to do the tadka, you would just put everything into your pressure cooker, seal it, and turn it on. All right, so it's still heating up, and I can feel it heating up. So let it kind of get there. And as it does, it's okay because it is warm now to go ahead and add our grapeseed oil. Now, on oil versus ghee. Ghee is clarified butter. Which one to use and when? Well, it depends on if you have a viewpoint on whether you want to keep your dishes vegan, plant-based, or if you use ghee, which is clarified butter. It's really up to you. I have been plant-based, generally speaking, probably 99% of my days since I was in graduate school, way back before it became fancy to be vegan or plant-based. I just feel better that way. So I use a high smoke point oil, like a grapeseed oil. But you can feel free to use what you would like to use for yourself. And you can put that right in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my cumin. So the little bit of pause that I had was my recipe is going to be a little different from the slow cooker. Slow cooker, you dump everything in. Now we're doing tadka, so we're going to go right to the spice area, a tablespoon of the cumin seed for 3 cups of product. And so here we go. Let's grab my tablespoon, because that's the one thing I did with my spice box when I developed it. This is my own design. We don't sell it right now because our manufacturer is not developing this or hasn't created the product for us lately. I created a teaspoon and tablespoon. So see how that sizzles? Now also see how the spices or the oil pools to the sides? Push your spices into it. That's just one little tip for the pressure cooker. It just pools that way. And then 1 teaspoon of, let's take the teaspoon. There's another thing that I did in my spice box. I put levelers in. So now I've got an exact measurement. 1 teaspoon of turmeric. And then I want to add in, ooh, I forgot, it's okay, a little bit of hing, which is a little different than the slow cooker book, a little bit of asafoetida. And then let's put in, see how I'm talking, and I need to keep this on, ooh, and it says hot, so it is nice and hot. I want to keep it on normal instead of more. Normally, I would put it on more. And I want a few cloves in there, so here we go. 3, 4 cloves. And these are the spices and some cinnamon sticks. If you don't have them, if you order anything off my website by the end of the day, oh, and then black cardamom pods, so earthy, so delicious. I will send you a little packet of these other spices for free. I'll just add them in there for you. We've got a whole bunch that we pre-packet for my cooking classes, but you gotta order something. If you order the cookbook, let me know. Whatever you wanna do. All right, bay leaves, just because I felt like it. So this is how you can kind of make your recipe your own, have fun with it, add a few other spices. I prefer not to add any of my powdered spices yet. I'm now gonna do the official tadka. So let's go over here and grab my onion. It's already ground down, and we're gonna put that in carefully because it's got moisture and it's going to sizzle. You don't want that splashing out. Let's just go ahead for about 2 minutes. We're gonna go ahead in here and let it sizzle away. So what those spices are doing, it's like pine nuts in oil. Excuse me, I'm sorry. It's like garlic in oil. Like Italian cooking, you're pulling out all the essential flavors and essential oils. That's what you're doing right now in terms of the tadka with your spices. You're pulling out all of the essential oils from your spices into your oil or ghee. I wish we had smell-o-vision. Oh my gosh, it smells so yummy and so good. It's so funny because our dog, Oliver, he's an Australian Shepherd. You've heard me talk about him a lot. He's got quite the personality, and he loves Indian food. Go figure. This is the ginger and garlic. Let's put that in there. Obviously, if I had 2 hands, I would get in there and grab everything. I will get to it and I will use it, I promise. I don't waste, or I try not to waste anything in my kitchen. This is your tadka. This is where all your flavor is coming from. Here's an ingredient I'm gonna add in, a little tomato paste. I found these jars. Instead of buying tomato paste in cans, I prefer this jar. It's resealable. And then I can use it again to hold spices and spice blends. So this was just something, instead of using or trying to grind down tomatoes, I want to put in some tomato paste. My mom grew up in Chandigarh, which is the capital of Punjab. That's where I was born, actually. And they use a ton of tomato paste in their cooking. It's kind of funny. So whenever she makes something, she always says, gotta make the curry look prettier with a little bit of tomato paste in there. Look how beautiful that looks. So, Did we forget anything? Well, the only thing I can think of that we've forgotten is our chili pepper. So we're going to go ahead and put that in. And again, the one-handed, oh my goodness. Action is not easy to do. This is why I love having my other hand. I actually love having a photographer just shooting all this stuff. I don't have the luxury of that right now because we are isolating ourselves, and that's okay. It's better to be safe, folks, than sorry. I know this from firsthand experience. I'll tell you more about that on a different post. I'm going to put my chilies in there. Know that if you're sensitive to the smell of chilies, you may want to wait to add them because you're going to smell them. It's going to come back to you. I actually feel like that's not enough for me, but that's okay. I'll add a little more later. This is sticking a tiny bit. I don't want that. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of the 9 cups of water that I've reserved in there to deglaze my pan a little bit because you don't want that burn signal on your Instant Pot to pull up. But as you add the water, and here's a tip that I have seen so many chefs in India do, because I travel all over India and I always love learning from some of these chefs. They always add a tiny bit of water to really deglaze the pan and really get your masala. Masala is the mixture of spices and main ingredients to really get it going. Now what I want to do is, I'm done. I'm going to cancel. So see cancel? Cancel. That is done. So that is your masala. Now, we typically in our culture make batches and batches of this and save it. Keep it on hand so that we can make a curry, which has nothing to do with curry powder. Curry to us is gravy. And it is what my Punjabi masala is. This jar of Punjabi masala is sold on my website, but please don't order it right now. We are completely sold out. We do have jars of it right now at Whole Foods, Lincoln Park in Chicago, and Lakeview. If you get a jar of this, per cup of main ingredient product, you can sub this in. So you will use a half cup of this product per 1 cup is what I'm trying to say of main product. So beans, 1 cup, 3 cups of beans, I'm going to use a cup and a half of this masala. So all you do is put your beans in your whatever vessel you're cooking, your crock pot or in your Instant Pot, add in a cup and a half of this, half a cup per 1 cup of main ingredient, and then water, salt, and cook it up. All right, so yes, Tom, great question. You can sub vegetable soup stock. And here's the thing on water and stock with Indian cooking. We get all our flavor from spices. We do not need to use meat stocks or veggie stocks or broth, which is the beauty of Indian cooking. Growing up, I never understood what all the broth and the stock was about because we don't need to use it. We use water, but we have so much flavor coming from the spices that it does the trick. Another thing is too, so many in our families are vegetarian, now are becoming more and more plant-based and vegan, that we would never want to offend anybody by using a meat broth in our cooking because it is pretty much unnecessary. So if you're going to make a meat dish, make the meat dish. If you're going to make a vegetarian dish, use the vegetarian broth to make your vegetarian dish. Oliver, come here. Oliver, front. I'm going to show you how well trained he's getting. Oliver, front. Oliver. Oh my gosh. He just embarrassed me. You just embarrassed me you embarrassed both of us in front of all these people, Oliver. You should be completely embarrassed. Look at him. He doesn't even look ashamed. Fine, just stay there. He is usually better behaved, I promise. All right, so we've got our masala. Either you made it this way. Donna, just Chicago right now. Milwaukee, Minneapolis, a couple of them can pull our product on. They haven't yet, but I'm going to tell you more about that towards the end. I want to go ahead and get my main ingredient in here, which is my Rajmah or Kashmiri kidney beans, if you joined a little late. These are smaller, sweeter than regular kidney beans. And of course, if you have regular kidney beans, that's what you're going to use. And that is what is more easily found. I am actually thinking about selling the Kashmiri kidney beans on my website. That is not going to happen for a little while because everything is in flux at the moment. But that is one of my next product launches. We sell harder to source legumes on my website and at Whole Foods, select Whole Foods. All right, so we did not put the salt in. Here's the thing. I'm going to need, and I already know this, I need 2 tablespoons of salt for 3 cups of product. But if you don't eat as much salt in your day-to-day, that's okay, cut it back. This is why we're cooking at home. The reason why I salt my dishes and my recipes pretty liberally is because I salt them so that you'll make the dish, put it over rice or eat it with bread and not have to add salt. There are so many recipes out there that I feel like are just pulling back on the salt to say they're low in salt, and then you sit down to them and they really don't have the flavor profiles that you really want for a good, delicious, hearty, scrumptious dish. And then you sit down and you add salt. I didn't do that here. I'm going to have you work the other way. And I want you to add the salt I recommend, or pull it back and test. Say that you pull it back by half, 1 tablespoon. See how that works for you. Jot it down. In your book, we always have like a little note section in my cookbooks, like at the bottom or at the end of the chapters, so you can write the notes down. And I want you to test that theory. If you find that you're adding salt, then no, your go-to originally was correct. I try to pull back on the salt every time I go back to this amount of salt. My mom yells at me all the time saying that it's going to be too much salt, and then she adds more salt. And here's the thing on salt too, folks. In my life, in my day-to-day, my family's day-to-day, we do not eat a ton of processed food, if any, honestly. Very, very limited. We don't go out that much. We're very selective. I cook at home. And I like to practice what I preach. I cook at home. I think it's more nutritious. I know what's going into my food. Obviously, at a time like this, you want to support all your restaurants and you want to order in all of this, but you want to keep in mind home cooking is truly amazing, delicious, and very good for you. Okay, as I'm chatting, this is what happens in my classes. I forget to add all the other ingredients. I would have had a really mediocre dish tonight. Garam masala. You know, here it's interesting in my recipe, I didn't use coriander powder in this original recipe. So a couple things I'm going to switch up. I'm going to put a little coriander powder in. And how much garam masala did we say? Garam masala, a teaspoon, because traditionally Rajmah does not really need too much garam masala. But let's go ahead and put, just for the hay of it, let's put 2 teaspoons in. So got the little leveler, level. You know, and the reason why in India I would never be able to sell these spice boxes is because they don't level there. They don't really measure. They do everything andaza se. So just by feel, by touch, right? That's how most people do cook. But in the US, if you don't know a recipe, you are going to have to use a recipe, and you're going to have to use measuring spoons, and you're going to have to measure just to get it right. Work inside the box. And then you can learn how to work outside that box. That is what I learned when I was a reporter at Bloomberg News. I know everyone knows that name these days, Bloomberg. Yes, I worked for Mike Bloomberg and had a great time as a reporter there. All right, so 1 tablespoon of red chili powder is what the recipe calls. Oh, wait a minute. Did I read that right? Yeah, 1 tablespoon. Okay, yes. I like the chili from the red chili. Remember, folks, 1 tablespoon. I could have grabbed my tablespoon, but I can also use 3 teaspoons, right? 3 teaspoons equals 1 tablespoon. So there we go, rock and roll. We've got all of that in. Here's what it looks like. So the heat is coming from the red chili powder, the fresh green chilies that I've added in here, and that's it. Our garam masala that we sell does not have heat in it. It has flavor. It has cumin seed, coriander seed, cinnamon sticks, and other spices that are ground down. So you're not getting the heat from our garam masala, nor do our spice blends have any added salts. I don't like to do that to all of you. They're very pure spice blends, my own recipes, and all ground in the United States, small batch. And so you're getting an amazing, amazing product when you order our spice blends. So look at this. Just mix it right up. And then we're gonna put the water in. But before we do, I wanna ask, does anyone have any questions about spicing? Tom, I love your commentary. It just cracks me up. Tom's saying, my cooking tastes like prison food. Not very good. I guarantee, Tom, that if you put together your spice box, purchase some of our spice blends, you are going to be incredibly, incredibly successful cooking at home. It is important to use the right, I've got a little extra here, I'm just gonna dump it in. See, that's how forgiving Indian food is. It is important to use the right elements for cooking, the right spices, the right spice blends. Now, say for example, you're at home and you're like, you know what, I can't afford right now to purchase all these spices. Where do I start? I'd say your key would be cumin seed, turmeric powder, and a good garam masala. Everything else can be added in later when you want to add it into your spice vault. But until then, those 3 things, you've got salt. You probably have a cayenne chili at home, right? All right. Molly, you asked, did I add the tomatoes? You might have missed it. I subbed the tomatoes this time for tomato paste, just to give it a little bit of brightness and make it a little bit easier for me. You can add tomatoes if you would like, and that is what the original recipe called for. Here we go, 2 medium tomatoes diced or pureed. I will say too, my kids don't always love munching down on tomatoes diced, so often they prefer that I puree them down or use tomato paste. And we do that in our legumes and our dals and all of that as well now, so that's just a little bit of a switch. Good call. I'm glad you caught that, Molly. Thank you for that question. Angela, when spices are cooked in oil, do they taste better than just adding them at the end? 120 million, zillion, gazillion, trillion, billion, zillion, willion, whatever percent. It is really critical to add your spices in at the right time. Now, for the crock pot, it does the work for you. The pressure cooker as well. You may not need to add the spices into the hot ghee or oil, and you'll get a delicious product. For the crock pot, I'll tell you, I just dump it and go, and it does the work for me. But here's the thing, when you're cooking on the stovetop, it is critical to have that step because it gives you an extra level of pulling out the essential oils from your spices. And really, it is the right way to cook Indian food on the stovetop, is doing that tadka. Many people add spices in towards the end. You can do that with a certain layer of spices, like maybe a little bit of garam masala. Some tradition is to add the garam masala towards the end versus when you're cooking in the beginning. And that's fine. But the other ones, they need to cook. That is why sometimes people cook Indian food for me. They are not Indian. And sometimes I just have to kind of, I'm polite, but it's not very good because it tastes chalky. It hasn't all cooked. The spices need to cook along with all of your other ingredients. It's really important to have this little system down and understand how it works. These spices, these are the black cardamom pods, very different than green cardamom pods. Do not replace the two. Green cardamom is very floral. This is a very woody taste profile that is absolutely delicious in Punjabi jeera rice. It is the secret ingredient. If you don't have it, that's fine. But if you've got it, oh my God, it will blow your mind. It is delicious. Again, if anybody wants to order from my website, indianasapplepie.com, order some spices, order some cookbooks, whatever you want to get. I will sneak in some of these pods as well as some cinnamon sticks and a couple other things that we don't actually sell. Just stick it in there for you so you have enough, and some cloves to make this recipe successfully at home. What else can I tell you? Does anyone have any other questions before we add our water and we close this baby up? We're going to add 9 cups of water. Remember, 1 cup of rajma or kidney beans, 3 cups of water. I used 3 cups of kidney beans, 9 cups of water. Here we go. That was already measured out. So we're going to go ahead and close that up. Could this be made, let's turn this guy around, in your 6-quart pressure cooker? Most likely, but I really like to be super careful. Oh, part of it, and I wanted to say too, the reason why I think this was okay for the 6-quart, the 3 cups of product, because the kidney beans are the Kashmiri smaller kidney beans. Look at the difference in size here. So you have a little bit of you gotta use a little bit of common sense with all this. So that's why I am now starting the pressure cooker project. I've been on a mission to ramp up these Instant Pot recipes and really get them right in terms of taste and in terms of ingredients. I haven't been able to lock in the Rajma recipe and get it perfect. My kids actually hate the pressure cooker for Rajma. They love it in the crock pot or slow cooker. It's just so amazingly delicious. But welcome, Barbara. Thanks for watching. But I am determined to get this recipe right, because what happens in the pressure cooker, the flavor profile is different. It's a little flatter, so you have to add a little bit more, I find, spices and spicing. And if you really, really, truly know the difference and you know really good, flavorful Indian food, there's certain recipes that you're going to want to keep in your crock pot. I once heard somebody say they use their pressure cooker now and would never go back to using a crock pot again. Please. I use whatever tool I've got handy. Every day is a little different. I love my Le Creuset. I've got, wait, can I just show you? Can I just show everybody my Le Creuset? This is my Le Creuset. And all of that was shipped, well, I bought the quince on my own, and the other stuff was shipped to me, the Marseille, from Le Creuset, because I do stuff for them, and I always promote them, and I just love their product. And they're so generous as a company. So the Dutch ovens, if you can find a way to get a couple in your life, please do that. All right, so yes, Tom, Instant Pots at Target, they are at Target, and so are crock pots. You don't need to spend a ton of money on the crock pots either. I mean, a really nice Rival for $30-40 is great. I love the 3.5-quart crock pot at the Cuisinart sale. That's a little more expensive, but it's got a few more bells and whistles. So you probably can afford to purchase one of these babies. And the Instant Pot as well, they're getting, they have deals going all the time. So you'll be able to get one for a really good deal. Sorry, I got something on my finger there. All right, so let's turn this puppy on. We're gonna hit pressure cook, okay? So here we go. We're gonna pressure cook it, and it already remembered the timing for the last time that I had this on, and we wanna keep it on more. I wanna push this, watch the button. See, it's more on high, less, normal, more. Now, I want, hold on 1 second, okay. Let's cancel that out. Let's play with this a little bit. Pressure cook, and we're gonna keep that on high. Oh, here's what I want to show you. Pressure level is another good button. Low and high, low and high, low and high. We want it on high, we're doing beans. We want to cook this puppy at more for 30 minutes and rock and roll. Let me flip. Ooh, it just turned on. All right, I'm back. So what did everybody think? Was that fun? And Angela, yes, they sent me that Moroccan tangine. A few years ago, they were doing their whole international line of products for Le Creuset, and I was testing their Balti as well. And so they sent me a bunch of stuff, and I love it. Now, I want to say one thing on your Instant Pot and pressure cooker. Is it magic? It's not magic. It doesn't mean you're going to get dinner on the table in 10, 15, 20 minutes, even 30 minutes, because it has to warm up. And once it cooks for that 30 minutes or whatever it is, it's got to cool down. But the beauty is you can get dinner on the table hands off. I'm not going to touch this thing for a while until it's done. I'll go about my day and do other things, and it's less fuss. So it's like a crock pot, but the crock pot required a little bit of planning. This you could kind of do on the run and on the go. So there you have it. Oh, I want to show, I'm going to flip the camera around real quick. One other little thing. This is what my 14-year-old made out of a potato. I just found it. Kind of crazy. She does that to me. So we are going nuts, hanging out in our houses, but we're doing the right thing, staying at home, cooking at home, supporting our local businesses. Again, if you would like some spices and you'd like some of the extra ingredients, buy something off my website, indianasapplepie.com. I will send you a little packet of some of the extra spices just because I feel like it, and I love all of you, and I love the support, and I love getting you to cook Indian food the right way and traditionally and authentically. If you have a chance to pick up my cookbooks, I never ask anyone to do much more than just support my business. And as authors, we only make a certain tiny, tiny portion of each book sold. So whether you want to go to Amazon or if you want to go to your local bookstore, they could use the help. You can look for my cookbooks. Just look up Anupy. It's not the most common name in the world, go figure. A-N-U-P-Y. Check it out. Buy my books. The Indian Slow Cooker is the one that I'm really going to be promoting and working on or working from in the next Tom, I would feel really bad about cutting into that potato at this point. And my 14-year-old is about to be 15 this coming weekend, and she does that not just with potatoes, she does it with lemons, she does it with all these crazy things, and I find this stuff all over the house. That was sitting on the sink upstairs. It scared the bejesus out of me this morning. But he did have quite a personality, and the little mustache was adorable. I agree, Tom. What else can I tell you? If you use my cookbooks and you want to find a way to support me and also your other authors, your other cookbook authors out there, hop on Amazon and give us a review. Every positive review, actually what it does is it boosts our standing on Amazon and beyond. And that's what publishers use and bookstores use to rate us as authors to see, do they want to invest in us, put us on their shelves? Do they want to, as a publisher, invest in us to do another book? If you want to support us, that is the best way to support your cookbook authors and just generally your authors, is to take a minute out to put a review up. buy our books, recommend them to other people, and that's why I do what I do, just to say thank you, but also to say you can support us by just supporting our books and buying our product. And again, my website is www.indianasapplepie.com. You know where I am on Facebook, on Instagram, I'm Indian as Apple Pie, and Twitter, Indian Apple Pie, no as, because we couldn't fit it in. And that's all for today. I am going to have more classes for you. Might have another live feed in about an hour because my daughter wanted to make her favorite drink, mango lassi. So she is not going to be on camera. She refuses to be, but I have agreed to make it for her, and I thought maybe we'll do a quick live video on that as well. But I hope you guys are all doing well in the midst of these crazy times, staying healthy. And if you have any questions, send me an email, anupi@indianasapplepie.com. It'll get right to me. And I would love, love, love to help you with any of the questions, help you get through your next days and weeks. And yeah, just give you lots of fun tips ahead. All right, thank you. On that note, I'm out, and we will meet again. Take care.